Coming up, Hood Mario, Lucas's Nightmare, Devil Bottles, Donkey Kong Shotgun, and more. Korimpa Marble Mania was a Wii launch title. In the game, you had to roll a ball to the end goal by tilting the playing field. The gameplay was similar to Super Monkey Ball. It's as innocuous as you can get, but tucked away in the game's files is this. Modified models of Mario wearing a hood. The models are from Mario Party, and they look like Klansmen. There's different colors of them, and they have a wide-eyed blank expression. Mario's eyes are oddly yellow and orange, and amusingly, the models don a cute little ribbon. Not only that, but there's even a model of Mario's head decapitated. It can also be found in the game's sequel, Marble Saga Korimpa. Both these images are named Sato Test, which is named after the game's programmer Ryohei Sato. As for why Mario was even in the game's files, the Marble games were made by Hudson Soft, who made Mario Party titles for Nintendo. The test maps are even similar to the ones in Mario Party 6, 7, and 8. Perhaps Mario was planned to be a playable marble, or maybe Mario was used for object scaling. In Donkey Kong 64, the titular character has a coconut gun that can fire in spurts. If he shoots ya, it's gonna hurt. That verse in the game's opening rap song certainly rang true in the game's beta, since Donkey Kong actually wielded a shotgun. Not a cartoony looking one that fit DK's motif, but an actual double-barrel shotgun that fired bullets. Donkey Kong 64's creative director George Andreas revealed this in a story he shared. One day he was showing off the game to Mario's creator Shigeru Miyamoto. He was with Nintendo's then president Satoru Iwata and the chairman of Nintendo America. They were all smiling as Andreas swung on vines and collected bananas. But then suddenly, Andreas pulled out the shotgun and started shooting beavers. Bullets flew out with horrifying sound effects. It was meant as a placeholder, but Andreas had gotten used to it and completely forgot about it. Andreas then looked at Miyamoto, who looked horrified. At this point, I'd like to imagine Miyamoto sternly telling Andreas to fucking remove it, but instead, Miyamoto actually smiled. He then took a pencil and paper, drew a coconut gun, and gave the drawing to Andreas as a replacement for the shotgun. The coconut shooter was then born, but not before the original shotgun made its way into the game's promos. What's more, Diddy Kong could even be seen shooting two handguns like he's in a Call of Duty game. It's pretty wild to see. If you like this video so far, be sure to subscribe, like, and click the bell icon for notifications. If you have any gaming myths, mysteries, oddities, or Easter eggs, be sure to let me know. You can also check out my other YouTube channel and watch me live on Twitch. The links are in the video description. Now back to the show. Perfect Dark was a futuristic game that featured advanced technology. It was so advanced that not only did it require an expansion pack to play, but it was originally going to have a face mapping feature. It was called Perfect Head, and by using a Game Boy camera with a transfer pack, players would have been able to scan their own faces, or their friends, and paste them onto NPC models. So enemies in the game's single player could have been your friends instead of generic characters. It was a cool, innovative idea, but the feature was sadly removed. Officially, Nintendo claimed that the reason was due to insurmountable technical problems, but in actuality, it was because of the Columbine Massacre. In 1999, a year before Perfect Dark came out, Columbine high school students in Colorado shot and killed around 14 people before killing themselves. It's one of the most infamous mass shootings in US history. According to Rare's programmer and animator, Columbine is the real reason why the face mapping feature was removed. Nintendo was afraid that players would scan photos of people, like a teacher, and shoot them in the game. It would have been a PR nightmare, so Nintendo made Rare scrap the feature. It was actually finished up until that point, and as such, Nintendo's official explanation about there being technical issues rubbed some of Perfect Dark's developers the wrong way. Conker's Bad Fur Day was already not safe for work. It had cursing, gore, boobs, and a poo monster.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you.
It seemed like nothing was on the chopping block, but there was actually one thing that was cut from the game that was deemed too disturbing. One piece of cut content was a cutscene of Teddy Surgeons cutting open a squirrel soldier while he was alive. You could see its ribcage as blood squirted out.
Oh, this is a bit different. One of those guys. Ugh, more teddies. Oh no. What are they doing? Oh no. He's still alive. Let me go.
This may have been a reference to the human experiments that Nazis did during World War II. In the end, Nintendo thought the scene was too gruesome, and so they made Rare cut it out. In the final game, the scene was replaced with the two doctors smoking and talking while breaking the fourth wall.
Oh, this is a bit different. One of those guys. Ugh, more teddies.
Really, that's incredible. I mean, what if you were to give this game to, say, 20 intelligent people? I mean, what would that do? Let's face it, what would it do? Really, that's interesting. What the f*** is that bloody squirrel? Quick, into character!
In Banjo-Kazooie, there's a character called Bottles who teaches you how to play the game. In the sequel Banjo-Tooie, he gets killed by the game's villain early on and appears as a benevolent ghost. Even in the afterlife, he still gives you tips on how to play the game, but originally there was going to be a multiplayer mode called Bottles Revenge that would have made the ghost of Bottles evil. Devil Bottles, as he's known as, would ominously hover over your character throughout the game's story mode. When you were near an enemy, Devil Bottles would immediately hover over them, allowing a second player to take control of that enemy. Player 2 would then try to kill Player 1, and if they were successful, Player 2 would step into the shoes of Banjo and Kazooie, while Player 1 tried to kill them. It's a pretty wild idea, and the neat thing was that Player 2 was basically able to control any enemy in the game, complete with their abilities. They could take over birds, living slot machines, and even giant statues. The only exception, however, were bosses. Rare found out in testing that Player 1 would have difficulty defeating a Player 2 controlled boss, like Old King Cole, since they had no attack pattern. In other instances, Player 2 would also just hide somewhere, preventing Player 1 from defeating them. As such, Rare had to ditch the multiplayer mode. They didn't have enough time to fix and debug it. The mode, however, can be unlocked in a retail copy of the game via a cheat device like GameShark. It's fully functional, and there's even an entire cutscene of Bottles turning into Devil Bottles, who explains how Bottles Revenge works. You can actually get a glimpse of Devil Bottles near the end of the game without cheats. His face icon appears during a quiz near the end of the game. But why in the world did Bottles turn evil in the first place? It's pretty crazy, but it's possible that he didn't like how Kazooie called him names in the first game. Additionally, Kazooie cheated in a card game against Bottles and Banjo-Tooie, and the reason why Bottles died is because he thought Kazooie was pranking him. Earthbound is a cult classic game that came out in North America in 1995. Its sequel, Mother 3, was released in Japan for the Game Boy Advance in 2006, but it never got a Western release. Fortunately, you can play a fan-translated version of the game using emulators, but when data miners dug into the game's files, they discovered bizarre and creepy unused content. After entering specific codes into an emulator, players encounter this. Strange characters with weird names appeared along with eerie music. These are apparently deformed versions of Klaus, who's your twin brother in the game that you fight in the end. There's even a naked sprite of Klaus. Each character also has odd names like Dung Beetle, Aeolia's Table, and Sign. Things get even more unsettling when Rope Snake and Vapor 2 appear. No one knows what this cut content was meant for. Fans theorize it was meant for the final boss battle. However, the backgrounds have no names associated with them in the game's code, so it's hard to tell. Another theory was that this was a dream that your character Lucas has. As such, fans have dubbed this Lucas's nightmare. Then there's the theory that this was actually Gigas, the final boss that was defeated in the previous game. This is predicated on this particular background, which resembles the Gigas boss fight. However, the game's creator Shigesato Itoi reportedly shot down that theory. He said he always planned for Mother 3's final battle to be brother versus brother, and that it was always going to be about love and friendship. Others speculated that the unused content was supposed to be part of a darker ending. Originally, Mother 3 was developed for the N64, and Shigesato expressed that he wanted to make that version dark. He wanted to betray and disappoint players, and even considered not having any dialogue in the final fight. He wanted it to be vague, but some people think that the ending may have been too dark and scary, and so it had to be changed to get the desired age rating. According to a website called Unseen64, which relayed information from the Earthbound wiki, the backgrounds were actually depicting Lucas's thoughts while fighting Klaus. Lucas saw his brother's pain. In the game, Klaus was also known as the Masked Man, whose identity was a mystery. This may explain the different versions of Klaus in these backgrounds, and why they even exist in the first place. The world of Super Mario Sunshine is a paradise filled with sun-soaked beaches, crystal clear water, and lush green grass. It's fun in the sun, that is, until you encounter this. This was an enemy that was originally going to be in the game. It's incredibly jarring and out of place, but if you jump on the enemy or keep shooting it with water, this is what happens. Its true face is revealed. It's shaped like an onion and can run around on land with its long legs. In the game's files, the enemy is named Hinokuri 2, which means fire chestnut. The enemy wears a skeletal-looking mask to protect its third eye that's hidden on top of its head. Damaging it will kill it. What's more, it can also spawn enemies through a unique and complex process. The maskless version of Hinokuri can be seen in an early trailer for Super Mario Sunshine. It will load into the game without its mask on in nearly every level, except for the airstrip. This implies that Hinokuri was supposed to be the first mini-boss that you fought instead of the blob monster. The game's file names also indicate that there was another version of Hinokuri that was supposed to be an actual boss. Luigi's mansion has many ghosts that haunt its hallways. They look cartoony and aren't too scary, but in the game's beta, there was one creature that was nightmare fuel. It can be found in the game's files, but in order to see it, you have to switch its character model with Toad's in the foyer. The disfigured monster is known as L. It was made 1 month after E3, and it's untextured and bigger than the other ghosts in the game. One of the most interesting things about it is that it can use both fire and ice attacks. That's unusual since elemental ghosts in the final game can only use one type of element. L may have also had translucent elemental spheres in its torso. Models of them can be found in the game's files. Players theorize that the entity may have been a super elemental ghost that appeared in the graveyard, or a late boss in which you had to suck up its elements and use them against it. Alternatively, it could have been a recurring enemy that stalked you throughout the game, like Mr. X in Resident Evil. Another theory is that L was an early version of a ghost boss named Bogmire, or that it was a placeholder to test out Luigi's moveset. No one knows for certain, and we can only guess what it looked like if it actually had skin.